FM 94 The Dark. It is that time again. Time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And right now I'm on the phone, or talking on the phone, with the lead singer of the band Rev Theory, and that is Rich Luzzy. And Rich, first of all, where are you calling from today, and how are things going for you on this Wednesday?
Things are good, man. I am in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we're dealing with sunny and 85. I know that you guys up in Minnesota are getting ready to bear down for that winter, but I heard you're having a nice 60 degree day today, so that's good.
Yeah, actually, we've been blessed here. Obviously, we had a rough winter, but so far, so good here for this fall. We're looking even at a 70, it looks like, here by maybe Friday. So we're excited up here. You know, we're wearing shorts, we're looking goofy, you know, but we're excited about warm weather.
Well, that's good, man. Glad to hear it.
Hey, Rich, let's get a little bit about the history of the band Rev Theory, and how did this band all come about?
So basically, Jules and Dave and I, we actually started playing together in college, and we went to school together, and we shared a common interest in music, and we started basically as a cover band, and just playing Thursday nights at the local spots, in and around Boston. We actually came up right about the time before Godsmack got big, and we used to play in this town called Lawrence, Mass, which is where they're from. And then we graduated school, and we decided that we wanted to give music a go, and moved down to New York, and that's where we met our first managers, and started writing. That was probably back in like 2003, 2004. And then met up with Matty, our bass player, and so it's been the original four ever since inception, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys actually were originally called Revolution Theory, and then just switched it to
we were actually called Revelation Theory.
Revelation Theory, okay, that's what it was.
And when our first independent record was under Revelation Theory, and then when we got signed to Interscope, we decided to shorten it because all of our fans called us Rev Theory anyway.
Okay.
And so we just decided to shorten it.
Okay. How did the name all come about then?
You know what? We have a list. There's some exciting band stories, how they came up with their names, and there's not. And unfortunately, ours is not one of the most exciting ones. So basically, we were playing a show, and before we even played a show, we just practiced for like 6 to 8 months before we stepped out on the stage. And it was like a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It might have been a week before we had to play the show. We didn't have a name set in stone. And so each one of us, set off and got our notebooks out and, wrote down a bunch of names. And, then we decided, the four of us, we on Revelation Theory. And, later on, the name becomes its own meaning to each member of the band or what have you. But that's basically how we got the name.
Obviously, Rich, we're talking with Rich from Rev Theory, lead singer of the band. As a kid growing up, is this something that you always dreamed about, being a lead singer of a band?
I don't know if it's something that I was definitely always into music, and when I was in high school, to be honest, I played sports, and I was in the choir, and I did theater groups and everything, and so the kids in my high school that were like in the bands, they would never let me even think about singing with them. Like I would go like hang out and try to do something. They'd be like, "Nah, man, you're a jock or you're a music geek," and so they wouldn't let me sing with them. And it kind of like discouraged me a little bit. But then when I got to college and I met the guys, and I stepped out and started singing with them, it just felt right. And it's something that music has always been a part of my life, and from the time that I ever first really stepped in front of a crowd, I knew that I always wanted to do something where I was in front of people, making them feel good. What source that was going to be, it didn't really happen until later in life for me.
You mentioned playing sports, and obviously you have to be in front of a crowd when you're playing sports. I don't know how long, if you played all the way through high school and what sports you played, but did that help you a little bit to mature maybe in front of a crowd and to be a singer that you are today?
I think that, what playing sports did for me, as far as, for the band anyway, was just discipline. It just taught me a lot of discipline. I kind of portray being in a band and playing shows the same way that I would prepare for, sports, and being disciplined in the fact that, every single night that you have to get up on stage and play, you have to kind of treat that as a game, right? And so you have to be at your best. And the only way that you can be at your best is if you give yourself the proper rest and, attention that your body needs, especially being a singer, because it's kind of tough. And, unfortunately, I was blessed with very sensitive vocal cords. So I learned at an early age when we started touring that, if I was drinking on the road or not getting my sleep, my voice just didn't want to cooperate with me. So I think that what sports did for me is it kind of gave me a sense of responsibility and, I guess, determination, and just that whenever I'm going to step out on that stage, I just want to be at my best because I want to perform as well as I possibly can for the people that we're playing for.
You actually bring up a huge point, Rich, here, and I've talked to many lead singers over the past couple of years here on this show, and, there's a lot of preparation and just maintaining your body day in and day out so you can get up there and do what you do day in and day out. I mean, you have to be very disciplined for this, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, what people, don't really consider is that when you're on the road, like you're living with, 8 to 12 other dudes. You're sleeping in, a tube that's rolling down the highway at 80 miles per hour, in a bunk, not probably getting the best night's sleep. Food is always not the easiest thing, as far as like trying to eat. So it's got its challenges, and taking care of yourself and not getting sick when you're around that many people, it's not that easy.
You guys almost need like a dietitian, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta figure out what works for you, and just stick to it, because everybody's different. I
was gonna say you need to be like you need an Alice from the Brady Bunch to take care of you guys, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wish we had one of those.
We're talking with Rich, lead singer of the band Rev Theory, and we'll get to your current stuff here first. But I've been doing a little research on you guys, and actually, I met you guys about, say, about 5+ years ago. I met you just in passing because I know you had actually went through the crowd selling your CDs the night when I was up at Walker, Minnesota at the Northern Lights Casino there. You were playing before Stained, and that's the first time I really got turned on to your music. I guess the question I have for you about your music is more about your music background. And why did you decide to get into the rock side of things rather than maybe some other genre of music?
I mean, that's what I listened to growing up. That was what I loved. I grew up listening to rock. Just like anybody, you always have your first record that changed you or made you realize rock. What you loved. And I remember growing up. I had some older cousins, and they were into like Judas Priest and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So I started getting an ear for that kind of music early on, and then I grew up in Northeast New Jersey, and so I think where I grew up, we had like a little bit of a rock scene being so close to the city, with K-Rock and stuff. And early on, K-Rock was a great radio station, so I had the outlet to rock. And then, being involved in sports, I played football and I wrestled my whole life. And so, when you want to get pumped up, that's what we would listen to in the locker rooms and stuff. But I remember, getting my first, Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction tape and just listening to it and just, putting that on and getting lost in it. And so that's where I, got the love of rock. And then, later on in life, I was grew up in the 90s, so I was a product of, the grunge era. So I loved Pearl Jam, I loved Soundgarden, so I think that's where my musical background comes from.
The one thing you just mentioned in there was wrestling and a wrestler, and obviously I'm kind of curious to ask you this question. You've had a lot of your music played and even performed for the WWE, which we obviously know as entertainment, and you were actually a true wrestler. Is there a little bit of is that some of the reasons why you kind of got into the WWE, or not really?
Not at all.
No,
not at all. No, I mean, growing up, being a collegiate wrestler, or it's way different than
right.
WWE. I mean, of course, as a kid, I did grow up with the WWF, and there's some nostalgia there because I used to watch that stuff. But it's not the reason why our music got involved. Our music, the main reason why we got involved with WWE is because they're a great company, and their outreach, for their fan base is huge, and our music just fit well with their platform, and we just really like working with them.
Has that helped you guys get your name out there?
Yeah, tremendously it has.
And that's another question. What song was the first song, Slow Burn, that you guys finally got charted? Is that the song that put you on the map, or was it maybe Hell Yeah that came out 3 years later?
The first song that we used with the WWE was Light It Up, and it was used for WrestleMania, and I can't remember what number it was, but it was back in 2007 or 2008. So Light It Up was the first song that they used. And then from there, they just, we would just submit stuff, and they would just, use a lot of our stuff. They used Hell Yeah for a pay-per-view. They licensed Hangman off of our second record for the theme song for WWE SmackDown. And then they eventually asked us if we would perform, Randy Orton's theme song, Voices, which, obviously has been a great platform because, every time that plays, it's one of the most recognizable theme songs in the WWE in modern day. It's synonymous with Hulk Hogan's Real American Hero, so that's been for 6 years now. So it's been a great platform for us, and, they're just a great company.
We're talking to the Rich, lead singer of the band Rev Theory. Let's get to know you just a little bit more. Obviously, we knew you were a wrestler. You were in football, obviously, all that kind of stuff. But how about your music collection that you currently have, and what might shock me that you're currently listening to right now?
What might shock you that I currently listen to? So I guess, growing up, my dad is in his 70s, and so for me growing up, he listened to a lot of doo-wop, Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge, the Pretenders, stuff like that. So I have an affinity to, like, classic old school music like that. Then, I guess because of writing music for so many years, you kind of respect a song and what it can do. So I do have a little bit of a soft spot, and I would say a guilty pleasure for a good pop song. The last Bruno Mars record that came out, there were a couple tracks on there that I really liked, so I guess that would kind of shock you. And let's see what else, man. For the most part, what I find myself listening to mostly now is, I don't really listen to a lot of stuff that's out now. Occasionally I'll listen to some new music if it's friends of ours, just, and check out and always support and buy the new music. But I really find myself listening to a lot of, classic rock, and that's where I've been able to, I guess, draw a lot of my inspiration from, mostly.
How about, you mentioned listening. How do you find out about your music? Do you actually listen to the radio? Is it more internet? How do you go about that?
No, I listen to the radio. What really sucks being from South Florida is that we don't have a great rock station. So the only way that, I can actually listen to rock is, on a satellite platform or on Pandora or, on something like that. But, I'll turn it on occasionally, and, I'm a creature of habit, so, I like to check out the charts and just see where people are and what they're doing. And if I see a new band that's, charting pretty well, I'll go check out the song just to see what it's like and what it sounds like.
Here's a question. You guys have been around for a little bit now, at least doing this, and obviously some of these new bands that are up and coming. How difficult is it for them maybe now, or how easy is it for them now to get noticed compared to when you guys started? Since the radio thing, as you mentioned, it sucks because they don't have a rock station down there. How is it tough, or is it easier now?
I think that there's two aspects to that, right? As far as bands being able to get out on the road and support themselves, it's a lot harder because we all know what drives shows, and what drives shows is the ability to reach the masses, right? And so with a lot of rock stations, disappearing, that takes away the ability for, people in that area to, if they don't have a satellite or if they're not really into social media. Because believe it or not, like, there's a large part of this country that doesn't rely on social media for, for information. So I think that's where it's tough for bands to actually just get out on their own and support themselves. In the same fact, though, I feel like with social media and the outreach of all these new platforms, whether it be Spotify and Pandora or, Beats or, all these other digital platforms, it gives bands a lot more of a leeway to get their music out there and actually sell, singles. So I think it's just, it's just changing, man. It's just changing. You can't be afraid of change, and it's going to happen. So it's like you just got to embrace it and figure out what works for you.
Rock radio, I want to talk about that just briefly. I have my theories on why a lot of management companies decide they don't want to have a rock radio format. I guess as a singer of a rock band, what's your opinions of that and why you think there are fewer rock radio stations?
I think that there are fewer rock radio stations because society basically tells us, what we need to be conditioned to. Mm-hmm. And so when you have this whole EDM, bubble, and you have this pop bubble, and that's what's driving society through reality television and all these, singing shows and everything. It's like, well, that's what's going to drive advertising dollars. And unfortunately, in the radio game, we all know that the way the stations make their money is how many advertisers are going to get on that station. And so they look at listenership, and it's like, okay, well, how many people are listening to the station? A pop station, has hundreds of millions of listeners versus a rock station, that may have a little bit less. So it's like, I just feel like it's society, and music is cyclical, and it's always going to go in a rotation. But I call rock where the cockroaches. So it's like you can drop a nuclear bomb and everything else is going to disappear, but the cockroaches will always scurry out and they'll always be around. So it's just waiting for its time. If you think about rock, back in the 60s when the disco era came around, that lasted for 10 to 12 years, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So, it's just society and what society's hungry for.
I think you're right, because you mentioned, obviously things dissipate, but then they come back. Rock does, that is, because for some reason rock bands, they stick together. It's not like it's hey, I'll make my quick money and then get out. These guys are in it for life, aren't you?
Right. Yeah. Look, man, you can't name me 10 pop acts that have been touring for 20 plus years or more. You know what I mean? Like you really can't. You can't name 10 pop acts, but you can name 20 rock bands that have been touring for 20 years or more.
Right, exactly. We're talking with Rich from Rev Theory. How about this? What does it mean for you to hear your music being played on the radio?
It's still a great feeling. Every time, you still get that, kid in the candy store feeling every time you hear your song come on a radio station. That was one of the coolest things about, touring early on. When we were in a van driving ourselves and, it's 2:00 in the morning trying to get to the next show, and we'd roll through a town and find the rock station, and then next thing you know, you hear your song on the radio. It's gratifying. It's a gratifying experience, and it's a cool experience, and I don't think that'll ever get old. And if it does, then, you're not doing something right.
Here's a multi-question. What current rock bands do you like? And also maybe one or two bands I haven't heard of that I should check out.
All right, let's see. So, rock bands that I like today.
Yep.
Newer bands?
Yeah, current rock bands, yep.
Current rock bands. I really like the guys in Otherwise.
Okay.
Julian and Matt have done some writing with them. And I just feel like they remind me a lot of us early on. So I really do like them. Of course, the guys in Nothing More, they're making a huge name for themselves right now. And that's really, that's always awesome to see, because anytime you can get such a young emerging artist, come out, it just says a lot for the industry still, that it's still happening, and that, programmers are taking chances on new bands and not just playing, the same guys that are just grandfathered in.
Right.
So that's exciting. A band that I like, I found this band on Facebook. They're from, I believe, the UK, and it's called The Fallen State, and they're actually really cool. And I actually really dig them, and I think that they're in line to do some big things.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. We're talking with Rich from Rev Theory. Here's a question that I've asked artists and singers like yourself, and sometimes it makes them have to think for a minute or two, but what artist, and it doesn't matter what genre of artist, would you like to cover one of your songs?
Oh, genre. Let's see. So one of my favorite songs that is, on our first record? Yes, it's on our first record.
Okay.
One of my favorite songs is 10 Years.
Okay.
Just super, super meaningful song to the band. And, I don't listen to our music that often.
Okay.
But occasionally I'll throw that song on, and it just makes me feel good. So I would say that song. And if I had to pick somebody, I would want to pick Rihanna.
All right.
Maybe do a cover of it because, I just feel like she is, she's just an amazing, amazing artist. And, it's a ballad. It's kind of a big, strong rock ballad, and I'd love to just, see her perform that kind of stripped down.
I asked that question because I've noticed in the industry as of late, we've noticed a lot of the rock bands trying to cover some of the pop songs. Obviously, you've heard that. But I haven't seen too many pop artists trying to do the rock songs. I'd like to see that a little bit, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. I think that it would help, a ton. But, we'll see what happens.
And maybe this is a quick question for you. What is the relationship with rock artists to pop artists out there? I guess, and it would be your relationship.
I don't really think there's, from my standpoint, I don't have much of a relationship with any pop artist. But I think that a lot of pop artists draw inspiration from classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they know what's going on in our world right now, but
right.
I think that there are definitely some pop artists that draw some inspiration and stuff from rock. 100%.
You guys obviously
don't get me wrong.
Right.
Like there's a method to a good pop song and why people love it. So when we write songs now, there are some pop songs that we'll reference and just try to get inside because that's the only way that you can evolve.
Well, I've seen in the pop industry, and obviously you've seen it too, the collaboration between the pop artist and the rapper. But I'd love to see the rocker and the pop artist kind of get together.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be kind of a cool vibe here. We're talking with Rich from Rev Theory. I know we're just about out of time here, but a couple other quick things. One other question: if you had to put together your ultimate 3-band bill to play with, so it's Rev Theory along with 2 other bands out there, and I'm going to broaden this out, Rich. It doesn't have to be bands that are even together anymore, or for that matter, aren't even alive anymore. Who would those other 2 be?
So I would want to play with the Doors.
Okay, yeah, that would be fun.
I'd love to play with Black Sabbath.
Okay.
And one outside of the box, just because what he did to music was is Elvis.
Yeah, that would be cool just to pick his brain, wouldn't it?
Yeah, look, that guy. He changed the game in a lot of ways. He changed the game in a lot of ways. And you know what? Johnny Cash too.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit down and chat with those guys.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to get in their brains and find out exactly what they had to go through to get to where they were at.
Yep.
All right, Rich, so let's talk about the current stuff you got. And Born to Destroy is your latest single that is out. And if I'm not mistaken, you are going to put out an album in 2015. Am I right on that?
Yeah, we're finishing it up right now. Yep.
Talk about your album, the current album that will be coming out then here in 2015.
It's going to be classic Rev Theory. It's going to be high energy. It's going to be heavy. We have some straight up melt your face songs on it, and then we have our melodic songs as well. But we're excited. It's the first record that we're doing on our own 100%. So that's really exciting that we get to just do it ourselves.
What song do you really like playing in front of the fans out there at a concert? From your obviously.
It depends on the day, I guess. Far from over is a song that I love to play in
Yes.
front of for the fans. I just think it has a real emotional connection, and I think that song, you know, really connected with a lot of people. We have a couple new songs that I really love to play. Born to Destroy is actually a fun live song, and it really gets the crowd going. You know, I'm really excited to play some of this new stuff. I'm really excited to play some of this new stuff.
Yeah, and
what kind of reaction it gets.
I'm really excited to see you guys again. When's the next time we might see you up here in Minnesota? Any idea on tours?
We're looking right now towards the end of the year. If not at the end of this year, definitely early on in 2015.
And how can more people find out about Rev Theory?
Just go to our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/Rev Theory. We have an Instagram account, which is official Rev Theory, and the Twitter account, which is Rev Theory as well. So we're pretty well connected on social media as well.
Rich, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking to you. And I tell you what, we're going to play your latest song, Born to Destroy, right now. Does that sound good?
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, once again, that is Rich from the band Rev Theory, and here's that new song, Born to Destroy.